Prepare yourself. This is a dark, disturbing story filled with psychological terror.
Clara Ronan, 34 therapist, had always dealt with other people's fears. She never imagined she'd have to face her own. Her panic attacks came back. Nightmares clawed at her sleep, smiling clowns, walls pulsing like living flesh, and a man's voice repeating, "Fear is the path, and you are going to follow it." On TV, a new activist was taking over the networks. Elias Vorn, a charismatic, unsettling man, with eyes so fixed they seemed to pierce through the screen. He called himself a guide of collective awakening. And the town believed him. That same week, Clara's neighbors vanished. The door was open, the table still set, dinner still warm. But in the middle of the living room, there was only one drawing made in blood. A circle, and inside it, a smiling face with two lines that looked like antennae. A symbol that would soon spread across the whole town. Security cameras recorded the moment of the disappearance, 3:17 a.m. A masked figure, a huge painted smile on the face, slow, almost dancing movements, and behind it, 5 more, always 6, always together, always whispering. Clara began receiving new patients. They all said the same things. "I feel like someone's watching me. I hear footsteps on my roof, but no one's there. Something's crawling under my bed." Then, the videos appeared. People cornered by masked figures in the middle of the night. Voices filling the room, coming from the walls. Low laughter mixed with animal-like breathing. Terror became an epidemic. Meanwhile, on every screen, Elias Vorn kept repeating, "Fear exists to set you free. You've never been this strong." But Clara noticed something hidden in his speech, something beneath the words, a rhythm, a frequency, almost like a subliminal command. One disappearance shocked Ravensbrooke more than the others. Mayor Eleanor Briggs was found. Not alive, but not exactly dead either. Her body was tied to a street post, flower petals stuffed into her mouth and a note pinned to her chest. The first to awaken. That night, Clara received a visit. Slow knocks, steady, almost hypnotic. When she opened the door, no one was there, but there was a box on the doorstep. Inside, 6 masks and a note. "You were born to lead." From that moment on, Clara stopped sleeping. The 6 masked figures came to be known as the Whispers. They always appeared together. They never spoke, never ran, never hesitated. When they chose a house, the whole street would hear the moans, the muffled screams, and then the silence. Elias, on the other hand, was only becoming more influential. He gathered crowds, spoke about belonging, about eliminating the useless, about ascending. Until one day, during a live broadcast, he revealed his doctrine. Fear is the tool that binds us. Fear is the honey, and we are the hive. Behind him, the 6 masked figures. For the first time, Clara realized they weren't followers. They were apostles. One night, Clara woke to someone calling her name. "Clara, Clara." The voice came from inside the walls. She ran to the hallway and saw shadows moving behind the living room door. When she opened it, 5 people were kneeling, waiting for her. Elias Vorn stood in the center. "You are the chosen one. You always were. Your fear calls for us." Clara tried to run, but Elias grabbed her face, whispering, "Fear shaped you. Now let it transform you." The walls began to tremble. The lights flickered, and the masked figures appeared one by one, coming out of the darkness like insects emerging from a cocoon. The town was swallowed whole. Houses burned from the inside out. Streetlights flickered, distant chants, muffled screams, masks at every corner. And in the center of it all, Elias. Clara was brought to him, tied up, bloody, exhausted. He placed a mask over her face and said, "You don't have to fear anything anymore. From now on, you are fear." In front of hundreds of followers, Clara was raised as a symbol of a new age. Every mask turned toward her, and they all chanted in unison, "Hail the Hive! Hail fear!" But then, something went wrong. Clara began to laugh, a laugh that wasn't human, a laugh that came from deep underground, from the base of the skull, from the marrow of bones. And without Elias noticing, Clara had already broken free. Clara lifted the mask slowly. The whispers froze. The cult fell silent. Elias stepped back, because Clara was no longer afraid. She was fear. "You think you created horror?" she said. "You only fed it." The streetlights exploded. Then shadows gained form. The masks started melting onto the followers' faces. One by one, they collapsed, screaming, begging, bleeding. And Elias? Clara grabbed him by the neck and whispered, "Thank you for waking me up." Then she tore him in half with her bare hands. Ravensbrooke became a field of corpses. The cult evaporated. The hive symbol. The whispers vanished. Once painted in blood, now surfaced carved into walls like living scars. And Clara? She disappeared. But some residents swear that, on perfectly silent nights, they hear a familiar voice walking down the empty streets. Fear guides us. Fear binds us. Fear reigns. Behind her, 6 shadows walk in step. Always 6, always together, always smiling. Because the hive never dies. It only changes queens. They say Ravensbrooke died that night. The media called it a mass fire, a terrorist event, a collective psychotic break. But those who were there know it was none of that. For 37 days, it rained ash over the ruins. Fine, sticky ash that clung to skin and itched like it was alive. The town was evacuated. Iron gates were raised. Guards circled the area with guns and masks. Yet still, some claim to see silhouettes wandering among the ruins at night. Always 6, always together. The Lucas Hart, 41 forensic investigator, was sent to Ravensbrooke to find the facts. He didn't believe in supernatural cults, didn't believe in entities, didn't believe in anything that couldn't be written in a report. But his first day in Ravensbrooke began to crack his logic. As he walked the ruined streets, he felt something odd. Not just the smell of burnt wood, rust, and mold. It was a sensation of eyes, as if the whole town were watching him. He entered Clara Ronan's old house. Cracked walls, broken glass, scratch marks in the wood. In her office, on the desk, a recorder still sat taped in place. Lucas pressed play. Clara's voice filled the room. Session 23. Patient, myself. I know there's something behind fear, something that feeds on us. Today, Elias looked at me like he'd known me since childhood, like he'd been waiting for me all his life. I don't know who I am without my fear, and I think that's why he chose me. There is a pause on the tape. Then, faintly, whispers. Whispers not meant to be heard so clearly. Queen. Hive. Awaken. Lucas stopped the recording. A shiver crawled down his spine. In the corner of the room, behind a torn curtain, something was written on the wall in some dark, dry substance. You don't investigate the Hive. The Hive investigates you. The evacuation of Ravensbrooke wasn't perfect. Not everyone got out, and not everyone wanted to. In nearby towns, support groups formed for survivors of the Ravensbrooke trauma. That's how they advertised themselves. But in one of these meetings, inside an abandoned church, only 5 people showed up. The 6th arrived late. Mara, 29, ex-waitress, whose brother died on Ascension night. Jonas, bus driver, who saw his passengers slaughter each other. Greta, teacher who took 30 students to the school basement and came back out with 3. Nathan, supermarket security guard, found Laughlin alone surrounded by bodies. Ivy, nurse, who swore she'd seen the hospital walls breathing. They gathered there to talk, vent, try to understand. That night, someone new appeared. A thin woman, hair tied back, expression unnervingly calm. She smiled and introduced herself. "My name is Anna Vorn." Mara froze. "Vorn, like the cult guy? Elias Vorn?" Anna tilted her head, still smiling. "He wasn't the leader, he was just the spokesman." Greta felt a chill. "And you? What are you?" Anna looked up at the broken stained glass behind them. The moon filtered through, fractured with color. "Me? I'm what was left after he was gone." Silence. Outside, 6 shadows passed the broken window. Slow, organized, almost in sync. None of them dared look directly. Not everything was happening in the physical world. Somewhere in a dark corner of the internet, a forum began to grow. It was called HoneyNet. An anonymous board full of testimonies about Ascension Night, the masked ones, and the Hive symbol. Some posted grainy videos. Others shared audio recordings full of static where, beneath the noise, voices seemed to be calling names. But what really stood out were the messages from one particular user. Queen/0. She wrote, "Fear is an organism. It needs hosts to spread. Ravensbrooke was only the first nest. You're next." One day someone replied, "Who are you?" The answer came seconds later. "You've already heard me whisper." That night, the user's computer froze. The camera turned on by itself, and he swore that in the reflection of the monitor, he saw 6 masks standing behind him. On his 3rd day in Ravensbrooke, Lucas got access to Clara's old files. He didn't believe in supernatural cults, didn't believe in entities, didn't believe in anything that couldn't be written in a report. But his first day in Ravensbrooke began to crack his logic. As he walked the ruined streets, he felt something odd. Not just the smell of burnt wood, rust, and mold. It was a sensation of eyes, as if the whole town were watching him. He entered Clara Ronan's old house, cracked walls, broken glass, scratch marks in the wood. In her office on the desk, a recorder still sat taped in place. Lucas pressed play. Clara's voice filled the room. "Session 23, patient, myself. I know there's something behind fear, something that feeds on us. Today, Elias looked at me like he'd known me since childhood, like he'd been waiting for me all his life. I don't know who I am without my fear, and I think that's why he chose me." There was a pause on the tape. Then, faintly, whispers not meant to be heard so clearly. "Queen. Hive. Awaken." Lucas stopped the recording. A shiver crawled down his spine. In the corner of the room, behind a torn curtain, something was written on the wall in some dark, dry substance. "You don't investigate the Hive. The Hive investigates you." The evacuation of Ravensbrooke wasn't perfect. Not everyone got out. and not everyone wanted to. In nearby towns, support groups formed for survivors of the Ravensbrooke trauma. That's how they advertised themselves. But in one of these meetings, inside an abandoned church, only 5 people showed up. The 6th arrived late. Mara, 29, ex-waitress, whose brother died on Ascension night. Jonas, bus driver, who saw his passengers slaughter each other. Greta, teacher, who took 30 students to the school basement and came back out with 3. Nathan, supermarket security guard, found laughing alone surrounded by bodies. Ivy, nurse, who swore she'd seen the hospital walls breathing. They gathered there to talk, vent, try to understand. That night, someone new appeared. A thin woman, hair tied back, expression unnervingly calm. She smiled and introduced herself. "My name is Anna Vorn." Mara froze. "Vorn? Like the cult guy? Elias Vorn?" Anna tilted her head, still smiling. "He wasn't the leader. He was just the spokesman." Greta felt a chill. "And you? What are you?" Anna looked up at the broken stained glass behind them. The moon filtered through, fractured with color. "Me? I'm what was left after he was gone." Silence. Outside, 6 shadows passed the broken window. Slow, organized, almost in sync. None of them dared look directly. Not everything was happening in the physical world. Somewhere in a dark corner of the internet, a forum began to grow. It was called HoneyNet, an anonymous board full of testimonies about Ascension Night, the masked ones, and the Hive symbol. Some posted grainy videos. Others shared audio recordings full of static where, beneath the noise, voices seemed to be calling names. But what really stood out were the messages from one particular user, Queen/0. She wrote, "Fear is an organism. It needs hosts to spread. Ravensbrooke was only the first nest. You're next." One day someone replied, "Who are you?" The answer came seconds later. "You've already heard me whisper." That night, the user's computer froze. The camera turned on by itself, and he swore that, in the reflection of the monitor, he saw 6 masks standing behind him. On his 3rd day in Ravensbrooke, Lucas got access to Clara's old files, audio sessions, notes, records. Mixed in with the standard documents, he found a black notebook with no name on the cover. He opened it. The first pages were scribbles, nonsense, repeated sentences, crossed out words. Deeper in, the writing became clear, organized, almost scientific. Thesis: collective fear generates a specific frequency. Hypothesis: someone or something is learning to use this frequency as food. Name I chose for the phenomenon: Hive. Lucas turned the page. Patient Elias Vorn. He doesn't respond as an individual. He talks as if he were many. We think, we want, we see. He never uses I. Today he smiled when I said mass hysteria and said, "You call it hysteria. I call it birth." Below that, one sentence circled so hard it almost tore the paper. He isn't afraid. He has fear. Lucas shut the notebook, feeling its weight. If Clara knew all this already, why did she keep seeing Elias? Why did she keep listening? Why did she let him get that close? The answer would come that night. Officially, Ravensbrooke was dead. But the sewer system still worked. Lucas went down with 2 firefighters to inspect sections no one had checked yet. The air was heavy, thick. The smell of mold and old smoke mixed with something too sweet, almost nauseating. "Smells like rotten honey," one of the firefighters muttered. They walked through the tunnels, lights slicing the darkness. Something glistened on the wall. Not metal, not water, not glass. a yellowish, gelatinous layer, clinging to the concrete, full of tiny bubbles, pulsing, as if it were alive. Lucas moved closer with his flashlight. Tiny black specks shifted inside the mass. He stepped back. "What the hell is that?" he asked. The firefighter touched it with the tip of his glove. Instantly, a voice echoed through the tunnel, low, whispering, full of laughter. "No." The lights died. Someone screamed. When the flashlights flickered back on, the firefighter who'd touched the substance was on his knees, eyes wide, nails clawing at his own face. He was mumbling, "There's something inside me. There's something inside me. There's something inside me." Lucas tried to hold him, but from the man's mouth, the same yellow vibrating substance began to ooze out. Between choked sounds, something slid free. A small black creature with multiple thin legs, shaking as if furious at being expelled. Lucas stomped on it instinctively. It cracked like an insect. But as it was crushed, a piercing shriek echoed, too sharp for something so tiny. The other firefighter backed away, trembling, sweeping his light across the walls. The mass was spreading, climbing, crawling, coming together, forming slowly a shape, a circle, a smile, 2 antennae. The hive was alive, and it was growing beneath the town. Back at the church, Anna Vorn had become a sort of guide for the survivors. But she didn't behave like a victim, or like someone traumatized. She sat on the altar, legs crossed, watching each of them like a clinician. "You think you survived," she said in one meeting. "But you were chosen." Nathan frowned. "Chosen? Chosen for what? To relive this every time I close my eyes? To dream of masks? To wake up to knocking on my door?" Anna smiled. "Chosen to carry the pollen." Mara swallowed. "I don't understand." Anna stood, strolling among them. "Fear is like a flower. It starts small, delicate, alone. But when it blooms, when it spreads, it needs agents. Bees, messengers. People who carry its seed from house to house, mind to mind, screen to screen." She stopped behind Greta and whispered into her ear, "You didn't escape the hive. You're helping it bloom." Greta trembled. "You're saying what happened in Ravensbrooke is going to happen in other places?" Anna smiled. "It already is." Without noticing, Mara had dug her nails so hard into her own arm that she'd broken the skin. When she released the grip, startled, tiny yellow blisters appeared where she had pressed. Anna looked at them with delight. "Ah, it's already in you too." Haunted by the tunnels, Lucas requested access to the original audio of Elias Vorn's public speeches. He wanted to know, how does one man drive an entire town insane? The technician pulled up the recordings. Elias's voice was calm, smooth, hypnotic. But something else lay under it. A deep sound, almost inaudible, more felt in the stomach than heard in the ear. "This isn't normal," the tech said. "I analyzed the audio. There's a layer that shouldn't be there." "Interference?" Lucas asked. "No, it's like something else was talking at the same time. Just at a frequency the brain feels but can't process." Lucas asked him to isolate the layer. The tech worked through filters, cuts, adjustments. Finally, what remained sounded like static at first. But the longer they listened, the more it sounded like voices. Many voices, layered, whispering, laughing. At a certain point, something clear rose from the chaos. "Clara!" Lucas froze. "Go back." The tech rewound the track. They listened again. The warped voices, a noise like wind, and beating wings. Then, again, buried in the hiss, "Clara! Queen!" Lucas's stomach turned. This, this was broadcast over the entire town? Yes. Every rally, every live stream, every interview. The tech looked pale. It wasn't just a cult. He was calling something. In the church, the meetings were changing. Before, people cried, shook, talked. Now, there was silence. The lights were turned off. Candles were lit on the floor, forming the symbol of the hive. Anna walked among them, barefoot, murmuring in a language none of them recognized. Or maybe they did, in dreams. "Close your eyes," she whispered. "Let fear rise and fall like breathing. Don't fight the images. They are gifts." They obeyed. At first they saw flashes, masks, fire, screams, Clara, Elias. Then they began to see things they'd never lived. Endless tunnels, bodies hanging like cocoons, faces covered by a thin amber membrane. Silent, open mouths, with something crawling inside. During one of these sessions, Mara felt an itch at the back of her neck. Afterward, she went to the church bathroom. She turned on the flickering light, pulled her hair up, and saw it. Right at the base of her skull, beneath the skin, there was something that moved. A small, pulsing bump, with thin, dark filaments shifting lazily. She touched it with a fingertip. 2 tiny black dots appeared under the skin, like eyes opening. Mara screamed. She ran back to the hall, stumbling, sobbing. "What did you do to me? What is this? There's something in me." Anna grabbed her shoulders firmly. The others stared, terrified. With unnerving gentleness, Anna pressed 2 fingers against Mara's neck. She whispered something. The bump stopped moving. "It's not ready to come out yet," she said, almost tenderly. "But soon, it will be born." Far from Ravensbrooke, in a town that still looked normal, fear began wearing another face. News channels wouldn't let the story die. Independent creators spun theories. Podcasts dissected the Hive phenomenon, some mocking, others worshiping. But something strange began to happen. People started dreaming of a woman in a mask, even those who had never seen an image of Clara or Elias. In their dreams, the masked woman stood at their bedroom door, head tilted. Behind her, 6 masked figures, breathing in unison. She slowly raised a finger, pointing at the dreamer, and said, "I'm not there yet, but I'm coming." They woke soaked in sweat. Some began compulsively doodling the Hive symbol. Others locked doors, windows, phones, as if they could block something they couldn't name. And without realizing it, every forum post, video, comment, and debate about the subject was feeding the frequency. And the frequency was feeding the Hive. On the 39th night after Ascension, Lucas had a dream. He was in Clara's office, but everything felt larger. The walls breathed with him. The chair creaked like it had tendons and muscles. The air vibrated. The door opened. Clara walked in. But it wasn't the Clara from the photos. Her eyes were so black they swallowed the light. Thin cracks ran across her skin, and beneath them, something amber seeped. "You came to analyze me?" she asked, smiling. Lucas tried to answer. No sound came out. "You still think this is just a criminal case, don't you?" she continued. "Dangerous cult, charismatic leader, vulnerable victims." She knelt in front of him. "There is no case. There's only process." She touched his chest, right in the center. Something cold slid inside. "You already carry what I need. You just don't know it's awake yet." He jolted upright in bed, gasping. His heart pounded too fast. His breathing was too shallow. He staggered to the bathroom, splashed water on his face. When he lifted his head, he saw something in the mirror, behind him. For a fraction of a second, 6 masks stood aligned on his bed. The Hive symbol glowed faintly on the wall. He blinked. Gone. But in the corner of the mirror, near the frame, a message seemed smeared in something viscous, slowly dripping. "You are ours now." The Hive didn't want to stay trapped in a dead town. It wanted to spread. And the perfect vehicle was traumatized people plus the internet plus twisted faith. HoneyNet exploded. Live streams started. Spiritual channels repeated Elias's phrases, unaware they were replicating the original frequency. And on a night already marked long ago, something began. At 3:17 a.m., the exact time of the first attack in Ravensbrooke, multiple places across the country recorded the same events. People going still in front of TVs, phones, or computers. Slow knocking on doors, always 6 knocks. Security cameras showing empty hallways until, in one frame, 6 figures appeared, frozen, staring straight into the lens. At the church, Anna gathered the group. "It's tonight," she said, eyes shining. "You're going to witness the expansion." Mara's neck throbbed. Nathan wouldn't stop scratching his chest. Greta clutched a rosary, but couldn't remember a single prayer. Anna stood on the altar, spread her arms. "Hive, we offer you our bodies. We offer you our fears. We offer you the cities that still sleep." The candles flickered. The walls groaned. The floor vibrated. Then, they heard it. A voice coming from everywhere at once. From the ceiling, the floor, from inside their bones. A voice that was Clara, and Elias, and the whispers, and the victims, all together. "I accept." That night, in more than 20 cities, people began to disappear. Hours later, some of them were seen walking down the streets in the dead of night. Always 6, always together, always smiling. Lucas went back to the tunnels. He knew it was insane. He knew he should leave, request a transfer, burn the notebook, pretend Ravensbrooke never existed. But something pulled him back. Curiosity, maybe. Or Clara's voice, still echoing inside. This time, he went alone. He walked with a flashlight and an old map of the sewer system. After almost an hour, he reached an area that didn't exist on the map. A wall. Too thin. He pressed his hand against it. At his touch, the wall quivered and opened like torn skin. On the other side, a corridor that looked more organic than built. The walls were made of flesh-like pulp and hardened honey. Cocoons hung from the ceiling. In some of them, silhouettes were visible. Still, eyes closed, breathing in the same slow rhythm. Lucas swallowed back a surge of bile. This isn't real. But it was. He walked forward, dazed, into a larger chamber. At the center of it, a massive accumulation of that living amber substance, pulsing like a heart, and fused to it. A woman. Clara, or what was left of her. Half of her body still resembled a human form. The other half was crystallized in dark honey. Dozens of thin tendrils extended from her back like antennae. Her eyes opened. They weren't eyes anymore. They were black hollows, with tiny points of light moving inside. Lucas staggered back. "You shouldn't be here," she said, though her mouth didn't move. The voice echoed directly in his head. I came to understand," he stammered. "Understand?" She laughed, and the entire chamber laughed with her. "You came to give me one more mine for the nest." The cocoons around them began to pulse. Faces swelled beneath translucent membranes. Firefighters, residents, policemen. Elias was there too, trapped, eyes empty. "He thought he led something," Clara said. But he was just the chrysalis. I am what crawled out. Lucas trembled. Are you going to end this? Clara tilted her head. End it? Why would anyone destroy their own food? The tendrils on her back stretched, slithering through the air toward him. You felt it, haven't you? When you walk into a room full of fear, how the air gets heavy, how hearts race, how pores open. One tendril touched his forehead. In a single instant, he saw thousands of images. Cities burning. People kneeling in front of screens, children drawing Hive symbols on walls, masks hanging from rearview mirrors, bees crawling out of open mouths. That's the future, she whispered. And you can see all of it if you stop fighting. Lucas felt something squirm inside his chest. Something small that maybe had been there for a long time. He dropped to his knees, and for the first time in his life, he felt real fear. Not fear of dying, fear of belonging. In the church, the second ascension reached its peak. The 5 survivors screamed, but not from pain, from ecstasy. Marks began to bloom on their bodies, circular lines, fine cracks, trails of golden light beneath the skin. Mara collapsed face down. Her neck exploded with pain. Something tore its way out from the inside. The small black creature with long antennae and thin legs slipped free, slick and angry. But instead of fleeing, it turned and forced its way back in, through her mouth. Mara choked, eyes rolling back. When she finally breathed again, something in her gaze had changed. It was too calm. Nathan laughed uncontrollably, doubling over. I get it now. Ha ha, I get it, Greta cried. But her tears weren't clear. They were yellow, thick. Anna watched them, proud. Now it's done, she murmured. Now you're one of us. One who? Ivy whispered weakly. Anna leaned in, whispered the answer in her ear. Ivy smiled. They were no longer victims. They were agents. Somewhere far from Ravensbrooke, someone listens to this story. Maybe you. Maybe someone sitting in front of a computer in a dark room, headphones on, lights off. Maybe just looking for a random horror story to pass the time. The narrator's voice unfolds each detail. Long pauses, whispers between sentences. The feeling that there's another, quieter voice speaking behind the main one. Suddenly, a strange noise appears. Static. A glitch. You assume it's just a bad edit in the recording. But if you rewind a few seconds and listen closely, way in the background, you can hear, I can see you. You turn the volume up. The narrator keeps talking about the Hive, about Clara, Lucas, Anna, Mara. But now, between one line and the next, another voice slips in. A woman's voice, cold, curious. You're still there, aren't you? Are you alone? Did you lock the door? You hit pause. Silence. You notice that outside, on your street, it's quieter than usual. No cars passing by, no dogs barking. Even the wind seems to be holding its breath. You press play again. The narrator says, "The Hive never dies." The second voice finishes the thought, whispering right into your ear. It just needs someone who listens to the end. A chill crawls down your back. Instinctively, you look at your door, just to be sure. It's closed. Of course it's closed. So why do you have the impression that under the door, right in the crack near the floor, you can see the shadow of 6 pairs of feet? Lucas was never officially declared dead. His disappearance was just another tragedy in the chaos of Ravensbrooke. Reports read, possible fall, body not recovered, case closed for lack of evidence. But months later, Someone accessed the police system using his credentials. A single audio file was sent anonymously to various police departments, media channels, and dark forums. The file name was "Do Not Investigate the Hive.wav." Those who hit play heard Lucas's shaky breathing, mixed with something else, like wings beating in a cavern. His voice, unsteady, said, "Don't come. Don't go down into the tunnels. Don't listen to the transmissions. Don't let the town talk to you." Static swallowed part of the phrase. Then another voice layered over his. No longer just Lucas, Clara's, Elias, the victims, the whispers, the Hive. It's too late. The audio ends with a low, repetitive sound. If you listen carefully, it sounds like knocking. 6 knocks. Always 6. You've already been stung? You could shut everything off now. You could delete this file. Pretend you never heard any of it. But some things don't leave. Some images stick. Some words stay. Maybe tonight, when you close your eyes, you'll see a circle, a smile, 2 antennae. Maybe you'll dream of a woman standing in your bedroom doorway. Maybe you'll hear slow knocking on your window, your door, your closet. Maybe you'll wake up, go to the mirror, and feel an itch at the back of your neck. When you lift your hair, you'll see a tiny bump, pulsing, moving. You'll say, "It's nothing, just an allergy." You'll try to forget, but somewhere deep inside, in a place infinitely dark, something small and hungry will smile. Because fear is honey. You are a flower. And the hive just gained another nest. And when you decide to tell this story out loud, when you record your own version, when someone, somewhere presses play, the cycle starts again. Always 6, always together, always smiling.